welcome to the channel. Now, this subject we have touched on before, but I just want to give it an update for you. Now, maybe you're a young person or maybe you're middle-aged and you want a change, and some friends have been to Thailand or Malaysia or the Philippines and they started teaching and they said they had a great time. And you thought, wow, living in the tropics, sunshine every day, only working a little bit, only just working a little bit, and you just think, wow, what a great life, and getting some money for living in Southeast Asia. This can be for a gap year, but if you are teaching, it's a job, it's a full-time job. It's going to be 40 hours per week. Now, if you are working in Asia and you want some extra income, then you have the visa status already to do so. Then with that, you can go to some private academies, and that's exactly what I did. Yep, I've got a TEFL and I have taught English in Asia, usually conversational and practical English. You would let the local teachers do the grammar and the vocabulary, and you would help them obviously with pronunciation and some of the mistakes that the local teachers would make. So it's quite easy to find. There's so many websites you can go to. Type in Google teaching English in Thailand and you will see a host of companies there. You can register for one agency and maybe they would find it. Now, they have said to me before, so I can't confirm this, that you can go to Thailand, for example, just on a regular tourist visa, and then the school will do your visa for you. But do watch out for some of these scams. One of the scams which happens in China quite a lot, and you have to be really careful, and I can't advise you with any good agents related to it or any companies, is that they would say you pay for your ticket. Now, if you have a return ticket for 1 year, then that's fine. You've already purchased that. They would say they would refund this. Then the next scam would be, you said, okay, your salary is 2,000 American dollars, for example, with free accommodation and free school food with Wi-Fi in your accommodation. But the accommodation may be actually really poor and it's just like uncomfortable to live in. Then you may have to find better accommodation, which is going to come out of your own. It's not really a scam, but the school may have extra accommodation and they would charge you a higher fee for this. Another thing is they would say, oh, just do a 6-month probation, we will pay you half, and then afterwards we will give you full-time employment. So you only get 1,000 for 6 months. Now, if accommodation is there, then that's sort of like livable. But a lot of schools, or can I say a lot? The scam would be that after 6 months, they say, we don't think you're a really good teacher, thank you, goodbye. They have saved themselves $6,000. You're out of pocket by $6,000 because you're working for 50% less. And the air ticket that they said would refund you, they don't, because you haven't done the year's contract that you actually signed for. So do be aware of these things. Lots of people would come to Asia and they think it's just like, oh, I teach 2 or 3 hours, it's going to be enough. You could say the average rate, if you're doing like part-time work at the moment, maybe like $20 per hour. When I worked in Vietnam way back in 1998, I think it was something like $12 an hour. And then I worked an hour and a half, I got 18. Now, this is back in the late 1990s, for example. And the variations of kids, they all want to learn English, and they are actually, it's quite fun to teach the young people. And there'll be sort of like 3 different levels. There would be the beginner, intermediate, and there would be the advanced. And you'd have some books like Interchange, which does actually more practical English, and that would be your guidebook. You do need a TEFL, Teaching English Foreign Language Certificate. Now, I got mine in Bangkok, 1995, after I finished in China. I did actually go to China and I was a DJ there, but a school came to me and said, can you teach English? And I did actually teach English there with no qualification, apart from my university degrees, which does include English language and English literature as a BA, as a bachelor. But I did the TEFL course. It was it was a long one, and they give you a certificate. Bam, you got it. Now you can do it the naughty way. Let's say in Thailand, you can go down the road called Khao San Road, and you can get a really good fake MBA or teaching certificate for, well, I really don't know how much it could be, maybe $50 or $60. And most of the time, the school won't actually check that this is genuine. They need to present it to their seniors or their bosses, and if they all agree, then bam, you have the job. So it's really up to you. If you're actually in the country, you can find the agencies, but they would require you to have the correct visa. Or you can get a school or university, for example, teaching English, but they would supply the visa. And you may have to pay for it first of all, but they say they would reimburse you. But if there's any kind of monkey business, like saying, we'll give you a 6-month contract, but you only get half the amount, then just walk away from that. There's plenty of good schools, but there are some that may try to scam you in that way. If your contract is in Thai or in Chinese, don't sign it. Get it translated from an official translator. It may cost you an extra bob or two in that way, but then you know exactly what is being written there. And again, it's just the innocence. Now, I'm not saying this happens in all schools and all schools are bad. No, I'm not saying that at all. There are many really good schools and they do it as a business. They need the foreign teacher to come there because that's the part. They want the foreign teacher to be happy so they get more students because it's the recommendation, it's the review that they may write online, for example, with that. But like in a lot of places, there are the unscrupulous few who will take advantage of the innocent person, especially if you're young, especially in a gap year. You think you're in Shangri-La, you think, oh, this is amazing, it's so much better than the winter time in England or somewhere really cold like Alaska at the winter time, and you're in a beautiful tropical island teaching English. You think life is good, but it is work. And people expect you to work. They don't expect you to be on holiday. You will work from early on a Monday morning, sometimes at 7 o'clock in the morning too, all the way till 5. And you do this 5 days a week. Yeah, granted, you should have the weekends off. In China, maybe you would work 6 days and only 1 day off. It varies on the contract. But what I'm trying to say is, do be careful. Don't play the fool. Some people, it's the same as anywhere else in the world. They may take advantage of that foreigner because they just don't know and they're innocent. And how many stories have come out of China of people who went to teach there? Yep, they had to pay for the visa, they had to pay for the air ticket, they had to pay for their own accommodation. Then the school would make up an excuse and say, here's your salary, it's half of what you think it's going to be. And they said they would do the accommodation 6 months later, they reimburse. But then if you're under a contract for 6 months as a probation teacher or probationary teacher, then they say, we don't really like you, and bam, you're just out of pocket. And the teacher or the school is laughing all the way to the bank. I have been in Asia, as I said, quite a few times, ever since like 1993. It was November or October, actually, first time I came to Asia, and I've stayed ever since. I've been very lucky in the way that I managed to retire when I was 44 because of some really good investments, and I get dividends near enough each month. But that's my own story, and no way am I going to share that. You'll have to find out how to do it by yourself. So you're thinking of a gap year, for example, as a student. You want to take a year out. You're thinking, oh, Southeast Asia. Obviously, you can apply for jobs online already, but they would expect you to actually be in the country. Places where I would teach, if I was in Thailand, for example, I wouldn't actually really do Bangkok, because you'll get into the habit of the expat community, and every night you will get drunk, and then teaching becomes a chore, and it gets worse and worse. If I was in Thailand, maybe somewhere quieter, like Chiang Mai in the north, or some small province where you can really capture the culture of it, and you'll sort of be more of a superstar in that small community rather than in a big city. So you get that superstar status. People invite you for having dinner. The students will actually love you more because they're from the countryside or they're in a smaller city. There's less kind of corruption that would go on. But do be aware, you are a guest in their country. You have to abide by their rules. If the local teacher works 40 hours, you should teach 40 hours, and there shouldn't be any difference. You are skilled at the English language. They will give you all the books that you need with this. But another scam could be that you sign a contract and it says 40 hours a week, including overtime. So you could actually start doing 50, 60 hours a week and you're still getting the same amount of money. Do be aware of all these little deviances. And the best way to do it, if finance was available in this way, quite simply, go to the country, go on a tourist visa, go and have a look. Do you like it? Go to the places that you may find interesting. Do you like it? Are you happy to live here for a year or maybe a long time? Getting the teaching job is not difficult. It's actually quite easy, but you do need the certificate, teaching English foreign language or teaching English second language. Either one of these would be fine for that. Do you need a bachelor degree? Do you need a university degree? Not necessarily, but you do need the teaching. You do need that certificate, but most schools would demand it, and they would like you to have some kind of, at least a bachelor in any field of your university degree. But you possibly can do it from high school, but it may be harder to find a job. So qualifications are the key, and that certificate, that teaching English foreign language one, is really important indeed. Then go and have a look around, and you can go and speak to the schools. Again, you can find these all online. You can communicate them via email online through these agencies. Obviously, these agencies will take a cut out of the money. So what would be the ideal salary? 2,000? 1,500, but I wouldn't do anything less than 1,000. Think of it like this in Thailand, that you get $1,000, and that will be 35,000 baht. Your accommodation may be 10,000. Now you've only got 25 left for your food. You can do it quite easily, but you're not going to save anything from this. And then the school may say, well, you've suddenly got to pay Thai tax, which may be like 8-10%. You may have to pay additional fees for, they may give you free accommodation, then they whack you with a bill for the electricity, or you've got to pay for your Wi-Fi, or the water is very expensive, or the transportation from the school and back. Any kind of scam there. It may be small, but if there's 10 teachers working there and it's a small scam of, let's say, 1,000 baht, which is just like 33 American dollars, multiply that by 10, bam, they've got $330 in their back pocket with the scam. I'm not saying Asia is bad. There's many, the majority of them will be really honest and will help you, and they want you because they are making money through you being there as a foreign language teacher, as a English teacher. But there are the ones who will sort of don't really care, and they take the innocence of the young foreigner coming into the country. They may say, yeah, you don't need a TEFL, oh, you don't need a visa, just come on a tourist visa. And then some problems happen, and then they say, oh, we can only pay you 20,000 baht this month. And there's nothing really you can do about it. You just have to make sure, and the contract that you actually get, don't give any excuses. If they say they're going to give you 30,000 baht, for example, or 60,000, and you get paid at the end of the month, or maybe on the 5th of the next month, whatever, if you don't get the money and you don't get an excuse, they give you an excuse for, oh, we'll do it next month or something, then just walk away from that and find another one. You've made maybe just enough money on that month, but you want the full salary. You want to you want to earn it in that way, if that makes sense. You don't want to be taken advantage of. But again, I rephrase, there's some schools and some agencies who would love to scam you, and literally it's so hard to get your money back from it. The local will always be right and the foreigner will always be wrong. Thailand, I would say, would be a great place, and you can earn up to, you could say, 60, 70,000 baht per month, which is more than enough, with accommodation, with visas, and with holidays. Cambodia, if you're new and you haven't taught anything before, maybe like $1,000 per month. And can you live on that? Yeah, you can. You may pay something like 200, 300 for your accommodation, maybe 50 for your electric. That gives you what, 400, 500, 600 left over for you to spend per month. You're not really saving from it. And if you stay for a year, for example, and they don't really give you any more after the year, then start to move on, find somewhere else. You've learned from the experience. Yeah, you're going to have good times and you're going to have bad times over this. What I'm trying to say in a nutshell, if anyone is still here, it's great to come over to Asia and teach. Make sure you have the teaching qualification. Doesn't take long to do, not so expensive to get it, especially if English is your first language. And just apply online, go to schools. Make sure that you do, when you actually start work, you have the right visa, and make sure someone is doing it for you. Possibly you can do it by yourself, but it's a lot easier if there's a local doing it. But make sure the contract stipulates what's going to happen, and you can negotiate with the contract as well. Now, most of my audience is from the United States, and they are over 55, and it's sort of like irrelevant information related to living in Asia. But if you are a young guy, you're thinking about, take a year out, I can travel around Asia, and so by all means do. But if you want to work, you will be doing a full week with that. Again, for the final time, be aware. If something doesn't sound right or too good to be true, then guess what? You're going to be the victim. So always make sure if you do travel, you have a backup plan. In other words, you have you have your return ticket, and this is a open return. It's going to be more expensive for the open return, but also make sure you always have some cash as a backup, so you can get out of the country when the school, perhaps the scam school, doesn't give you any money, and you can get back to the United States, or you can get back to Europe or wherever you come from and learn that lesson. But it's just being very careful and keeping your eye on it. Think of it as a business, especially if you're young. You've never taught before in your life. You get the teaching certificate. Hey, it's easy. And they suddenly promise you $2,000, $3,000, 90,000 baht per month. Are they really going to give it to a 21-year-old with zero experience, or are they going to give this to someone who's in their 30s who've had teaching experience? Yeah. So if it's not feasible and it doesn't sound right, then you would say it could be, and there may be a possibility that it's not right. I'm going to leave it there for today, and do enjoy Asia. Please do come on holiday. If you want to work as a teacher, you can. It's not difficult to do, regardless of your age. But do be aware, not everyone is a bad person. Please note, not everyone. There's very few, a tiny percent there. And if you do fall for it, like many foreigners have done in the past, you can look on YouTube and hear some of the stories. Then be aware of it in advance, so you're careful about it. Buy a book like Lonely Planet Guide to Thailand or to China. Look up teaching, and it will give you some stories, some real true life stories, and then tell you what to do in general. But you have to do the legwork for it. And again, you're working, you're not on holiday. Yeah? You're just living in Southeast Asia, for example, so you would be expected to do the 40 hours and not be treated like a king just because you come from the United States of America. My name is James. I hope that was useful. Have an awesome day wherever you are. Bye-bye for now. Cheers.